Hi, everyone. I am Alexis from Wellness for Hugh, and today on the pod, I am solo to record our first ever solo pod on a topic I am very passionate about, women's hormones and cycle syncing. I'm going to talk about why your cycle is important, my journey from birth control to PCOS to a regular cycle, as well as a ton of cycle syncing tips. I am an IIN certified holistic health coach. I am not a doctor. What I'm sharing today is combining my own studies, research, and experiences to help you learn about your monthly cycle and how you can integrate dietary and lifestyle syncing strategies to improve your health and overall well-being. If you are interested in really diving in, I do highly recommend IIN's, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition's health coaching program, and they also have a specialty hormone program. I'll drop my referral link in the show notes for a discount off IIN's courses. So with that, I want to emphasize that it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman listening to this episode, because we all know a woman in our life that has a cycle, whether that's a sister, a wife, a friend, a coworker. And because of that, it's important for everybody to have an understanding of such a vital piece of our health, our hormones. And honestly, there's a big gap in our education system to teach us about hormones and our cycle. So this is a great episode to share with your daughters or younger girls, or simply to educate yourself and then talk to them personally. I know we've joked on some other episodes that our main memory learning about our cycle growing up was our moms trying to tell us how to use a tampon, and our girlfriends and us just chit-chattering in school bathrooms, indiscretion, like our cycle is a secret. But every woman has one. It's not a secret. And you should care, because if your woman isn't getting a cycle, which used to be something socially maybe we were proud of, it's actually a bad thing. So not getting your cycle has negative impacts on a woman's health, like potential infertility, early onset of osteoporosis of your bones, the risk of cardiovascular conditions like high blood pressure. And so that's why various health groups have advised that health practitioners should consider your cycle a fifth vital sign, meaning your cycle is just as important of a health indicator as changes in your body temperature, your pulse, your breathing rate, and your blood pressure, which are the other four vital signs. So now you know some reasons why it's important to learn about your cycle. So I want to share a little bit about my own journey with my PCOS and cycle, and why I started wanting to learn more about it. I wanted answers, I wanted to figure it out, and so with that, I'm going to shift over into the Women's Cycle Syncing ebook that I created. You can find it on our Wellness for Hugh website, and I'll show it here if you're watching. So it looks like this, and I created it on Canva. I absolutely love it. So let me flip to my story to kick off. So growing up, I remember struggling with irregular and sometimes painful periods. I didn't really realize at the time that my troublesome symptoms could have been PCOS related. And so, looking back, I wish I would have had a better understanding of my cycle or been educated more about it to feel more in control and empowered. So, fast forward through high school, I went to college, and I ended up getting on the birth control pill, which masked my symptoms. And I really went on birth control more for protection, not necessarily because I, wanted to get rid of my cycle or was having any extreme symptoms. I just wanted protection because, again, I didn't know, when I couldn't get pregnant, and I wanted to just make sure I was safe. So, again, everybody has a reason they make decisions, and you honor that and realize you can only do the best with the information you know at the time. So for almost 6 years, I didn't have a real period on the birth control pill because the pill releases synthetic hormones that prevent ovulation and consequently a fake bleed. So in 2020, as the pandemic was shutting down the world, I was single, and I was like, this is the time to figure out my cycle. And so I decided to get off the pill, and I didn't want to just do it cold turkey. I wanted to educate myself a bit. So in parallel, I went to obtain my IIN health coach certification. So that's kind of how I got all into it. And I also got a bunch of different books to read, which I'm going to talk about, and so on and so forth. So again, it's typical when you're transitioning off a birth control that you can experience irregular cycles or post-birth control syndrome. And I feel like I didn't feel like myself personally for almost a year after getting off the pill. I struggled, even though I was like really trying, y'all, like I struggled with acne, bloating, weight gain, hormonal hair growth, and more. And at some point I was like, enough is enough. I'm working on my health and I'm still struggling with all of these things for, at this point, probably a year. So I sought out a local Houston acupuncturist. I worked with Dr. Lori, and then I went to go work with Dr. Sarah and Zola at Temple. And they referred me to an integrative medicine doctor, Dr. Monica Robertson at the Healing Space. And, with their help, I was able to get some scans and some blood work done, and they stacked up the symptoms indicated I had PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so finally I had some clarity. And, we all want answers. We all want clarity so that we really know what to work on. So that was really helpful for me. And so I started, again, really consistently working on cycle syncing strategies that were catered to my PCOS. And PCOS can have different forms. You can have other challenges like endometriosis, fibrosis. So I highly recommend, meeting with your doctor, an integrative medicine doctor who can help you find some clarity around maybe what you have. So my doctor recommended, on top of my cycle syncing strategies, berberine, inositol, and magnesium supplements. And I just wanted to shout those three out as we kick off here because those were instrumental in helping me regain my healthy cycle. I don't really take berberine anymore. That was more for blood sugar balance, and I've got my diet down pretty good now. But I have my inositol up here that I still take daily because I find that if I don't, my cycle will start to creep into 40 days. So other game changers that have helped me are acupuncture, stress management. If you're stressed, all your hormones are out of whack. Reincorporating red meat. I was vegetarian for a couple years in college, and I just never reincorporated it, but I felt that in order to replenish nutrients I was losing through a bleed, I really needed to reincorporate red meat. And of course, support from loved ones. You should, a game changer for me was finding a partner that I felt safe to talk about my cycle with. So support from loved ones, maybe that's your significant other or a family member of a really close friend. I also use my Oura Ring, which is on this hand right here, to track my body temperature. You can use a thermometer, but body temperature is a key indicator of where you're at in your cycle. So that's a game changer. We're going to get into that amongst some other indicators. So slowly each month incorporating dietary lifestyle supplements, I was able to regulate my cycle and improve the symptoms. And I finally feel like myself again, okay? You can feel it in your body when you don't feel well. You can feel the inflammation, and I finally just feel like myself again. Not every day is perfect, right? But in certain parts of your cycles, you're going to feel high, you're going to feel low, and we're going to talk all about that. So I'm super grateful for everyone who's helped me on my journey, and I'm personally proud of all the work that I've put in. So I'm excited to share more with y'all to help you. All right, so who can this episode help? Or who can cycle syncing strategies help? So let's talk about three groups of people here. So if you're a woman experiencing trouble PMS symptoms due to, sensitivity to hormone changes, some of these symptoms you may be struggling with can be things like anxiety, mood swings, depression, food cravings, bloating, headaches, breast tenderness, aches, pains, brain fog, fatigue, clumsiness, sleep disturbances, or all of the above. So if you're struggling with these and they're really bothering you, you probably have some improvement you can make in your hormones to alleviate these. So again, things bothering you are a sign that your body's trying to communicate with you. The second thing this is helpful for is someone experiencing missing or irregular periods, right? And you're trying to get them more regular. Because we just talked about why it's bad if you're not getting them regular and they're missing. And then the third one is someone coming off birth control, similar to my story, who wants support in bringing back their cycle. So those are three categories that I think this episode is really helpful for, and this ebook is really helpful for. So to jump into our cycle, let's talk a little bit about it so you know what it is. So your monthly cycle is a sequence of hormonal events to prepare your body for a potential pregnancy. And if your egg that you release isn't fertilized to create a baby, you will then shed your lining of your uterus, and that's your period bleed. And then the cycle repeats. So a healthy cycle can vary person to person, but typically it's between 21 to 35 days. And based on different books I've read, some people count like day 1 of your bleed as day 1 or day 1 of follicular. So it just kind of depends what you're looking at, different resources. But everybody has 4 phases: your menstrual phase, your follicular, ovulation, and luteal. I want to talk about, some ways to think about those phases, and we're going to talk about them through all the strategies here, and also what your hormones are doing during the 4 phases. So seasons. We all know what seasons are, even though in Houston, we really only get like 2. Menstrual phase is like your inner winter. So I'm actually recording this during winter right now. So inner winter, it's a time to rest, be quiet, recover. You don't really want to go out. We don't want to go out in the cold, right? So your menstrual phase kind of resembles your inner winter. And then as you're coming out of your menstrual phase, you go into follicular, which is kind of part of that, menstrual is part of that phase a little bit. And that's your spring, your inner spring. Think, April, May, spring flowers, you're starting to bloom, right? So you're starting to grow, feel more like yourself again, get some vibrancy, and that's when you get to ovulation, when you're gonna release an egg. And that's when it's your inner summer. So ovulation is like your inner summer. You feel your most vibrant, you're typically glowing from all the hormone highs, your estrogen has peaked, and you just wanna have a good time. Go out, have a good time, network, date, whatever. And then coming down off that luteal phase right before menstrual is your inner fall. So, you kind of want some warm, cozy vibes. You want to integrate warming foods and things like that. So inner fall. So that's kind of, maybe you can gauge how you're feeling to indicate where your hormones are. When you're in follicular phase, your hormones are rising. So your estrogen is rising, and when you get to ovulation, it peaks. And then as your estrogen kind of goes down, your progesterone rises in luteal. And progesterone also raises your body temperature, so we're going to talk about that more. So as progesterone rises, your body temperature will rise. And then they'll all come down, estrogen, progesterone, everything. All your hormones go down, and that's when you enter your menstrual cycle and have your bleed. So hormones are at the lowest during menstruation. So that's a little bit about the hormones and the phases. I want to talk about a little bit of kind of like an ancestral way to look at your cycle. Your cycle lines up with the lunar cycle. So, typically, like we said, women's cycles can be anywhere from 21 to 35 days, and our lunar cycle is about 28 to 30 days. So if you've really got your cycle dialed in, it's probably pretty close to the lunar cycle. So let's get a little woo-woo for a second. In ancestral times, it was said most commonly to ovulate with the full moon. So the full moon is a really bright moon, and that's because it was like Mother Nature's bright nightlight to stay up for baby making. So think, woo, it's a nightlight out, I'm gonna have some fun, I'm releasing an egg, time to make a baby, right? So that's like a typical, most fertile style of your cycle. And then you would bleed on the new moon, which is the dark moon, when Mother Nature is trying to provide you darkness to rest and heal. However, no matter where your menstrual phase falls, there's something you can learn about it. And I talk about kind of, no matter where you're at according to the moon, if you're in between moons, that's kind of a time of transition or healing for you. And then of course, if you are menstruating on the new moon, it's typically said to be the most fertile per that kind of stuff. And then if you're flipped, I find it really interesting. If you're menstruating on the full moon, again, if you're menstruating on the bright moon instead of the dark moon, that's said to typically, I think Dr. Jolene Brighton talks about this in her book, that's said to be women maybe who are leaders or healers, who are serving others, and it's not a good time for them to be to serve themselves. They're focused on others, and also they're probably really outgoing, really passionate, and their work or their business is like their baby. So their cycle is flipped on the moons, which is really interesting. So I feel like in our society these days, especially with all the women, entering the workforce, becoming leaders, that starting their own businesses even, we often see, my friends and I, mine is a lot of times I'll menstruate on the full moon. So check the next moons in the next couple months and see where you fall, check your apps, and just, it's really interesting. I will say that in our society, artificial light can throw off your cycle. And so to help you resync, use the sun and the moon. So go out in the morning to get some sunshine on your skin, And then if it's around a full moon, go like watch the moon a little bit, let that, soak into your skin to help resync your hormones. Okay, so that was some fun information. So let's go back to figuring out, where you're at in your cycle. Like, let's say you don't have an app and you want to just kind of use like body signs. So body temp and discharge. So body temp, again, if you have a thermometer or an Oura ring or another way to track your temperature, after you ovulate, in your luteal phase, your progesterone is rising, and with progesterone rising, your temperature rises. So I can go into my ring and I can literally see every month my temperature is like low, and then it goes high for 12 to 14 days. And as soon as it drops, again, those hormones drops, my period starts. It's like clockwork. It's insane. I like the Oura ring. I just never take it off. It makes it easy for me. But you can track it in the morning and watch how that happens, and you'll really start to see the cycle. We're going to talk about why that's important in a second. But the second thing is your discharge. So if you ever pay attention to like discharge on your underwear, some days it seems like it's white and creamy. Some days there's nothing at all. Some days it's clear and you're like, what's going on? Well, each type is associated with the phase. So of course it makes sense that when you're menstruating, right, you're bleeding. So that's that. As you're coming out of menstruation into follicular, it can be a little bit dry, but then it'll start to get sticky and creamy. Again, you can Google all of this, but I've compiled it in this ebook for you. So yeah, you can see different charts in this book. It'll start to get sticky, creamy, maybe even a little bit white. And then as you near ovulation, it's gonna become like a clear egg white. Think, I'm releasing an egg, it's gonna be like an egg white, kind of stringy texture. And that's how you know you're ovulating. After that, it might be sticky for another day or two, and then it'll start to go back to dry and luteal phase leading up to your bleed. So yeah, start to pay attention to what you see on your underwear. And why these two indicators are so important is because, again, growing up, I did birth control because I wanted to protect myself from pregnancy. But had I been educated on these two things to watch, it would have helped me identify the time that I could get pregnant. So you can really only get pregnant with a regular cycle about 5 to 6 days out of the month, because your egg only lasts for 24 hours when you release it, and sperm can only live inside a woman's body up to about 3 to 5 days. So, 3 to 5 days before your egg is released, you want to be careful, and then usually 2 to 3 days after you ovulate, you want to be careful. So that's when I recommend protected intimacy. Again, will use my body temperature, and if my temperature has been high for 3 days, I'm pretty dang sure that I've ovulated, and after that, like 3 days, I feel safe to maybe have like unprotected sex with my partner. So again, just something you can research into, and if you can get your cycle to be regular, you can really use it as a tool for all those other things you want to do, whether you're trying to get pregnant or not get pregnant. Okay. So that's a little bit about your cycle. Now let's go into, 4 ways you can help support your cycle with dietary and lifestyle strategies. And you've probably heard of seed cycling. It's one of the most famous ways to kind of support your hormones. And I did this early on when I was trying to get my cycle back. So you can Google this, but basically different seeds have different compounds that support different hormones. So in like the follicular time, they usually say pumpkin seeds and flax seeds. And then kind of in luteal, they say sesame and sunflower seeds. So again, Google that or look at the ebook, but you can eat those seeds at those specific times of the month, like when you're trying to regulate your period back. Super interesting. Love it. Love how foods can be medicine. So going more into nutrition, there's nutrition sinking. So I like to joke that diets get a really bad rap because they're not sustainable. But as a woman, you can technically have 4 diets. So you have 4 phases, and there's, different foods that can support each of those phases, and you can have all the flexibility you want to eat the different foods at different parts of your cycle. So this really, I really got into this because, again, I was vegetarian for a couple years in college. I wasn't eating a lot of meat, and then I wasn't eating red meat at all, to be honest. And just at some point with my journey, I was like, I have to reincorporate some red meat during menstruation. So kind of leading up to menstruation and menstruation, when you're losing blood think what I'm losing, I need to replenish. So if you're losing blood, you're losing iron, you're losing a lot of minerals. So you need to replenish those things. So menstruation is kind of a time to do your carnivore, keto, paleo, iron-rich diets. And that's a good time to eat all your grass-fed red meat. Think kidney beans, beets, berries, and the minerals that come from dark leafy greens, even some spirulina, cacao for magnesium. And of course, for all the phases, healthy protein, fats, and fiber to keep your blood sugar balanced and your mood balanced. So yeah, you can be carnival style during menstruation. And then follicular, as you come out of your period, I like to shift into pescatarian and light, lean, sprouted foods. So you're preparing to release an egg. So literally, I like to eat eggs during this time. They're like a ball of nutrients. And lean meats like fish, turkey, chicken. Your estrogen is starting to rise. So if you eat veggies, it'll help you metabolize that estrogen to prevent buildup and estrogen dominance, which is, a lot of women struggle with. Also really interesting, your metabolism, it said like your metabolism could slow down during follicular as you're leading up to ovulation because your body wants to conserve nutrients for a possible baby. So this is a time that you could do lighter meals, or even intermittent fasting to support weight loss. And then when you get to ovulation, this is for all my raw, vegan, vegetarian girlies that love those diets. This is your time to your most vibrant. So eat vibrant foods, right? This is your time to eat fruits and veggies and salads and smoothies to just be your most glowing self. So your body temperature is going to start to rise as your progesterone rises. And you can also eat some cooling foods to cool yourself back off. Again, salads, smoothies, great time for that. I also really like to integrate raw carrots around this time because they're known to help metabolize, again, any excess estrogen that you haven't already metabolized, because excess estrogen will cause some of those pesky PMS symptoms. All right, so that's for my raw vegan lovers. And then luteal phase, just think fall warming foods. So luteal is a great time for, complex carb, macrobiotic type diet. You want slow digesting carbs and high fiber, beans, quinoa, roasted root veggies, cooked greens. And I'm saying cooked foods here, warm foods, because you really want to warm up your body so you have a smooth blood flow during your period. So a lot of times, especially in winter, this can be a struggle. Like right now, your period can kind of seem light or dry, and that's probably because you're cold. Like you're cold internally and maybe externally, and so warming foods, get good workout sweat, a sauna, to really help your period smoothly flow as you enter menstruation. Something interesting I like to note during luteal too is your stress resilience is usually a little bit lower, like you can more easily get stressed out. And so luteal is a good time to reduce caffeine or reduce coffee and swap for matcha or tea, or just don't drink it altogether. So that's kind of my way to look at the nutrition per the phases. And you may even, over time, you'll just start to notice you kind of crave those foods during those parts of your cycle, and you don't even have to think about it anymore. But I have these beautiful charts in here if you need a cheat sheet until then. Let's talk about movement a little bit. So in terms of movement, again, just lean in, tune in to the energy you're feeling in each phase. It's really easy to think about during ovulation, you can increase your intensity. You're feeling pretty vibrant. Maybe you want to do some HIIT, some dancing, some kickboxing, power yoga. You've got that energy. You're on an energy high. Then as you move into luteal phase, early luteal, you can still be doing some strength training, Pilates, bar, even vinyasa yoga. But towards the late luteal, when you're getting tired, we've all been there, right? You just want to curl up on the couch. That's a good time for restorative yoga, just some stretching, some walking, breath work, naps. I've never really been a huge nap person, but luteal phase catches me off guard, and I usually crave a nap. So, rest, recover. And then as you enter menstruation, the first day or two, you're still going to feel like resting likely, get some walks to keep the blood flow going. But then towards menstruation, the end of menstruation, you're going to get your energy back and start reincorporating that strength training. Maybe you up your walks to a jog, go biking, maybe even hiking, and you're going to regain that energy and build it back up. And then you can start that more high intensity stuff as you move follicular to ovulation. So again, it's not a perfect math here, but the main point is lean into the energy that you're feeling per phase. One of my favorite things is to sync your lifestyle to your cycle. This is really hard, and I guess we really haven't talked about men's hormones much yet because we live in a society kind of catered to men's hormones, right? So men have a 24-hour cycle instead of our 30-day cycle, and their testosterone rises in the morning and then decreases. So that's why, society will be like, okay, get up, go to the gym, and then go to work every day, every day, every day, every day, because that's how men's hormones work. But our hormones are a little bit more complex, and we have, more flexibility to kind of lean into different things. So when I was reading Alyssa Vitti's book here, In the Flow, seriously, the best book ever to learn about your cycle, she uses the acronym POWER to remember how to sync your lifestyle and work to your cycle. So folliculars is the P for POWER, and it stands for prepare and plan. So you've just come out of your cycle, and it's kind of like a new month, a new lunar cycle. It's a good time to prepare and plan, set your intentions, write down goals for the upcoming month. You can brainstorm, research new ideas, start new projects, new businesses, engage new clients, and just dream big, right? So prepare and plan, P for follicular. Ovulation, O, obviously, and O stands for open and communicate. So be open and go network, right? So be magnetic, be outgoing, go talk about your goals, go negotiate for a raise, host your client meetings, give your presentations, do your reels, and you can make them and then post them later, right? But this is a good time to make that kind of stuff and go to networking events, go on dates. So yeah, I probably just said 5 of those things 12 times, but that is a great time to be people forward, to be open. Next is luteal, which is W. So this is when I really find myself tuning in with this. W stands for work, or in my opinion, wrap up and wind down. So you want to start finishing things so you can rest during menstruation. So you want to, finish your projects, your presentations, your deliverables, your reports. And you're going to feel more detail-oriented during luteal. So this is when I really feel like you can use that kind of focused detail-orientedness to kind of wrap that stuff up, make your final edits, and submit. That way, towards the end of luteal, you can turn inward, start to wind down, organize your workspace to set yourself up for the next month. Menstruation is the ER, evaluate and rest. As you're resting during menstruation, increase your self-care, evaluate how the month went, reflect, journal, and just see where you want to make changes for the upcoming month. Listen to your gut, course correct, and then repeat it all over again. So that's super fun. I have it kind of written down in bullet points for you guys here, or you can read her whole book. She talks all about all of these things. Super, super cool. And if you can schedule meetings according to this, great, do it. I know it's not perfect because we still have to go to work sometimes, but do what you can. Do what you can. A couple other things I wanted to shout out. Again, hormone disruptors can throw off your endocrine system, your hormones. And so the more you can detoxify your space, your home, your environment, the easier it is for your hormones to be balanced. So, you can Google different kinds of lists, but, top hormone disruptors can be things like BPA, pesticides in food. So you want to be paying attention to the quality of your food. Go for organic when you can. Phthalates and things that are in a lot of perfumes. Filter your water, right? You just want to eliminate as many toxins as you can. So focus on your water, focus on the quality of your food and your products, from skincare to hair care, and just anything on your body or that you're breathing in. Some quick strategies is, you can put a filter for your water, but also on your shower. And I've also seen the ones for your sink, which I don't have. I have the one in my shower, but not the one in my sink. But that's really interesting. I mean, people are really diving into the filter scene. Try not to microwave your food in plastic. Try to use glassware to store your food and heat it up. Transition to toxic personal care and cleaning products. Cleaning products like Branch Basics is a popular one. And just, you can go to EWG and look up, different toxicity levels of different products, personal care. Air purifier is also great. I have a diffuser, kind of air purifier, humidifier from Canopy, and I love it. Some other things to help detoxify. I love to tongue scrape in the morning, or you could do oil pulling, which also just helps freshen your breath and whiten your teeth. Like, that's such a hack. Drink lemon water in the morning, add more herbs and sprouts to your food, take daily walks, make sure you're sweating, dry brushing, all the things. So yeah, those are a couple ways to detoxify and minimize toxin load on your body. A couple last tips here that really helped me is one, sleep. If you're not sleeping, your body's gonna have a hard time healing or balancing. So quality sleep is really important. And, I recommend to prioritize going to bed before 11 p.m. to at least get 7 hours of sleep. So I usually do kind of like an 10:30 to 7, give or take 30 minutes on either side, depending on when I need to wake up for work or if it's the weekend, but I try to be consistent about it. I want to work on a sleep tips ebook for y'all next. So let's plug that dream in there. And again, I use my Oura Ring to track my sleep. It's phenomenal. Highly recommend. Think everybody should have one. I'll also drop my referral link for that in the show notes. And then secondly, you heard me kick off with this, but acupuncture was a game changer in my healing as well. Acupuncture is a form of traditional Chinese medicine in which the needles are inserted into specific points in your body to generate different reactions and move blood flow, energy, and balance hormones and all the things. So it's great to improve pain, tension, cycle regularity, stress, anxiety, all the things. I started my journey with acupuncture, and I've maintained it to just stay balanced and help other areas of my life as well. So, we've interviewed a couple of people on this podcast. We love Dr. Sarah and Dr. Sebastian at Temple Heights Acupuncture. I have gone to Dr. Lori before in Houston, and I know there's several other people kind of in the loop, or hopefully near you, wherever you're listening from. Some resources to shout out. So we talked about the Oura Ring. I also use an app. I use Flow. It's just easy for me to use because I've been using it forever. There's some other great new apps out, like Natural Cycles. There's also some really cute ones out there. My friend uses Stardust, and it kind of shows you where you're at in the moon cycle with your cycle, kind of how we talked about in the middle of this episode. So kind of look into the apps, ask around what your friends are using. It's a great way to track and just stay knowledgeable. And again, up here, I have some books that I absolutely love that helped me on my journey. I read Dr. Jolene Brighton's First, Beyond the Pill, because I personally was trying to get off the pill, and I wanted a book to motivate me to do that. And then In the Flow by Elisa Vitti was great to then try to regulate and cycle sync. So she's got some really good information in here. Those are my two favorites. I think I also read Fix Your Period by Nicole Jarman, Hormone Cure by Sarah Gottfried were great. And then Jen Sino, if you Google her, she's got a couple different hormone programs that I had done. I believe it was like Fit and Functional when I did it, but she might have different names for them now. So Google her, she's great. And yeah, those are a couple of resources. I would say two things that, we're always working on ourselves, and two things that I'm personally still working on were, again, bloating a little bit. Sometimes I feel like we struggle with that. You can easily aggravate it if you're stressed. So I love my Array bloat capsules. Y'all know I harp on these on a bunch of the episodes, but you can use my code AlexisM15 just for if you're eating out or indulging. They're a lifesaver. Just pop 2 after dinner and wake up with a flat stomach. Love it. And then this inositol, you can get I get this, usually pick it up at my doctor's office, but I'm pretty sure you can get it on Amazon. This is Pure Encapsulations inositol, but there's a couple other great brands that have different forms of inositol or combine the different forms of inositol, and that has really helped me. So talk to your doctor about that. So bloat is something I did continue to kind of struggle with, but I feel a lot better now, and strength training and stuff helps me with that. And then skin. So y'all heard me say at the beginning that I did struggle with breakouts. And for some reason on birth control, again, a lot of people go on birth control to minimize acne and breakouts. So when I got off, I was like, oh my gosh, what is acne? Like, what is this? I didn't have it for 6 years. And it's taken me a long time, you guys, to kind of heal it. You think you kind of get it healed and you've got some acne scar and you want to work on that next, but then some more pops up because your cycle is cyclic, right? So it feels like it's kind of a constant battle sometimes, and you want to mentally prepare that you're going to have endurance to continue working on these things. So for skin, recently, I've been feeling pretty good about my skin. I would say if you're working on the stress in your cycle, it's going to help with the skin, especially supporting the liver and detoxifying. But recently I've been loving double cleansing. I'm going to throw that out there. I'll double cleanse. I'll use like an LMS cleanser, and then I'll use, a different cleanser after that to really make sure all my makeup is off for clean skin. And then, I've been using Jan Marini. Somebody recommended that to me, and it has more actives than some skincare lines, but it really helps the cellular turnover since I had some acne scarring and some redness. And I'm loving that. I have no affiliation with either of those brands, but the LMS and the Jan Marini, I keep reaching for them on my counter. So maybe check those out if you're working on your skin. But I will say, I used to kind of go to facials, but now I'm really trying to consistently go twice a month, which I know can be a lot. At the beginning of my journey, I would go to more like massage, acupuncture, but now that I feel more balanced and I want to work on my skin, I'm like reshifting that to go to facials instead. But facials can be a game changer because they really help clean your skin up and just really give it a nice hydrating glow. So yeah, those are some of my recommendations. That was a ton of information and I really didn't even cover it all, but I hope that now you have a better understanding of your cycle or the cycle of the women in your life, and you can improve your cycle regularity, your symptoms, and overall just how you feel. Because at the end of the day, how you feel is what matters, right? Like if you don't feel good, it trickles into everything else. So if you want more information, again, check out any of the resources that I've mentioned in this episode. You can come find me at Wellness for Hugh events if you want to chat all things hormones and wellness. You can reach out to me personally on Instagram. My personal Instagram is Alexis for Wellness. You can work with me. We can meet one time, maybe customize you a plan or just kind of chat about your goals and I'll give you recommendations. Or we could do a 3-month program. So I'm accountability for you as you and integrate sustainable habits. So I want to get you to a point where you feel like they're sustainable and you've got it. So thank you so much for listening. I would be so grateful if you can like, subscribe, rate, review this episode wherever you are listening so we can continue to share and host a guest. You can comment what you love and what you want to hear more of. I'll go check it out so I can provide that for y'all. It's been a blast, and I can't wait to come back and chat with y'all soon. Have a great day, everyone.